Mock drafts are starting to fly around like it's no tomorrow. We've talked about a couple. Daniel Jeremiah had us linked to the defensive tackle Byron Murphy out of Texas. Then we looked at Mel Kiper's mock draft where he had I think it was a corner or something like that falling to the Vikings. I really can't remember off the top of my head at this point. But we've talked about mock drafts a couple times, and that's because our team, well, isn't in the playoffs. Super Bowl is just 2 weeks away, and we're looking forward to what the Vikings might look like in the future, that being the quarterback position. What's going to happen there with Kirk Cousins asking for 2 years, $90 million, fully guaranteed. He can basically kick rocks, okay, because I don't think the Vikings should pay that. Maybe there's another team out there that should, think about paying that. We've talked about it a couple of times where $60 million for 2 years, 34.5 guaranteed. I think that'd be a perfect contract for Kirk Cousins, but with, his recent history of negotiating, he basically gets fully guaranteed contract. He is the one that changed the game on contracts. So we're looking forward to what the Vikings might do, and we're kind of looking at that quarterback position thinking the Vikings need to draft somebody here or go out in free agency and sign somebody for at least a couple more years and, look forward to the future. I say we need to draft a guy because this draft class has 3 top-tier quarterbacks in Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. Then you have 2 subpar or at least pretty decent, could be good, could be bust, J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix. Now, all these guys could be busts or superstars. You have no idea what you're going to expect from these people going into the NFL, but the Vikings have been linked to multiple reports saying that they're aggressively looking to trade up where we did that last year, trying to get Anthony Richardson. Thank goodness that didn't happen. Hurt 4 out of the 5 games. You get it. We already know the whole story. But now, Will Helm of Pro Football Network wrote an article and did his mock draft basically talking about every single selection and what happened at that selection, where he had the Vikings trading up. What pick did we get? Well, we got the number 2 pick, trading with the Washington Commanders. I do believe he said basically that, look at the compensation. The projected trade said the Vikings received the number 2 overall pick. In return, the Commanders would get the 11th overall, the 42nd overall, and the 155th overall pick, plus Minnesota's 2025 first round and third round pick. So it's a big package, but to move all the way up to 2, you got to assume it's going to be a pretty big package to select the guy you want. And that guy just happens to be Jaden Daniels because he, in this mock draft, basically said, look, Bears are keeping Justin Fields, and we're going to go through this. Even though they're keeping Fields, they're going to select Caleb Williams at number 1. Then he goes to that Vikings pick at number 2, trading with the Washington Commanders, who, well, let's get right into it. Before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So he said, basically, with Williams off the board, we'll throw another change into the order of the top 3 quarterbacks. Rather than having the Commanders take Drake May to replace fellow Tar Heel Sam Howell, we'll have them trade down and ride with the incumbent starter for at least 1 more year, depending on how the board falls later, which I think does make sense. They've said time and time again that they believe in Sam Howell and that he's the guy going forward, so why not give him a chance, especially on his rookie contract, and kind of test the waters this season, especially with the new coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. How does this guy mold, or how does Sam Howell become does it become better, basically, is what they're looking at. Now, again, mock drafts are a game of information. Sources expect the Vikings to be aggressive in the draft in their search for a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. And if you look at what happened or has happened around the league with these rookie deals, some pretty good things. Brock Purdy, rookie deal, Mr. Irrelevant, been to or is already in a Super Bowl in his 2nd year in the National Football League. And the Niners are basically able to use all that money, because only paying Brock Purdy $800,000, to build the roster around him. C.J. Stroud in Houston set up really nice. He's on a rookie deal, a little bit more of an expensive deal than what Brock Purdy's getting, but Houston's now able to allocate those funds to the defense, to the offensive weapons, and build this team around him. And those teams, more than likely, have success down in the future. So that's what the Vikings are looking to do, find their franchise quarterback, because, I mean, let's be real, other than Kirk Cousins and Dante Culpepper and Fran Tarkenton, we really haven't had a stellar franchise quarterback. We thought Christian Ponder could, well, I don't know if anybody thought that at the time of the draft selection, could have J.J. Watt. What are we doing? Made no sense. But we really have been kind of in this purgatory of where we don't have great quarterbacks. So Jaden Daniels, though, can make literally every throw and has elite athleticism. If the Vikings put a guy with his upside in an offense with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, they'll have the chance to contend for a Super Bowl if the LSU quarterback reaches his potential. So what is exactly his potential? Well, if you don't know, he did win the Heisman Trophy this past season in college football after being basically counted out his entire college career. You're not good enough. You're never going to make it in this league. You won't be in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be a bust. Well, he just kept stacking those chips and started, proving the naysayers wrong, per se. Let's look at his stats, what he did at LSU last season, just to give you a little glimpse of what we could see in the NFL. Now, granted, this is college stats, a lot different ball game, a lot slower pace, so it's going to be a lot different come the NFL. But if you look at what he did, passing-wise, 3,812 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, had a 95.6 QBR, which is really, really good. Only 4 interceptions in a season. I mean, that's up there with like the Joe Burrow and the Tim Tebow and all those types of stats. He also had over 1,000 yards rushing with 10 rushing touchdowns. Jayden Daniels is what the Vikings have been looking for. A quarterback that can scramble and utilize his speed to his advantage, roll outside the pocket and get things moving, because when the Vikings have had a mobile quarterback in the past, Fran Tarkenton, you could count Randall McDaniel or Randall Cunningham, sort of Dante Culpepper at the beginning of his career before he got a little bigger and started to slow down, become that pocket passer with Randy Moss and stuff like that. We've had success. We've won a lot of ball games when we've had that type of quarterback compared to when we've had a pocket passer. And Jayden Daniels fits that mold perfectly. I think the Vikings need to try to at least trade up to get Jayden Daniels, if that means getting the 8th pick from the Falcons and trying to sneak him away, or if the Commanders do take Jayden Daniels, try to get Drake May, get one of these guys that are supposed to be a superstar quarterback, because I'm not paying Kirk Cousins $90 million for 2 years, fully guaranteed, off of an Achilles injury and being at the age he is. It's just, I'm sorry, that's not the direction this team wants to go. That's not the direction the state wants the team to go. The Minnesota Vikings have been mediocre. All Minnesota sports teams have been mediocre for way too long. It's time to change that with being aggressive. That's what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has to do. Be aggressive, trade up, find a way, figure it out. Get the next quarterback, and let's mold him under the Kevin O'Connell and have him learn the scheme and stuff like that, and then pick up a veteran backup, in free agency or whatever you want to do. Okay, that's the route you need to go. That's the route I think the Vikings should go. The Vikings are going to be aggressive, hopefully. Okay, we've seen in the past that they might be aggressive and they trade out of it. So we'll see what happens come draft night. There's going to be a lot of this talk of who the Vikings might take in that first round. But right now, as I sit here, got to take a quarterback. And I think a lot of you guys would echo that sentiment. So you guys let me know your thoughts on drafting Jayden Daniels after trading up to that number 2 pick. Also drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks, and Skol Vikes.